I still remember the night they left. Rain was pouring, thunder shaking the windows, and Mom just whispered, "It's better this way." Then the door closed. I was 4. They never looked back. Before we continue, make sure to like, share, and subscribe if you believe karma always comes around, because what's about to happen will shock you. Growing up, I didn't have bedtime stories or birthday candles. I had foster homes, secondhand clothes, and the sound of other kids getting picked up by parents who actually cared. But I learned early, no one was coming to save me. When I turned 18, Grandpa, the only person who'd ever written me a letter, showed up at my foster home. He said, "River, you're the only one in this family who didn't forget what kindness means." Those words, I didn't even know how much they'd change my life. He took me under his wing. While Mom and Dad were busy living their perfect lives with their new family, I was helping Grandpa run his small farm. It wasn't much, but he trusted me, something my parents never did. We built something together, and for the first time in my life, I felt like I belonged somewhere. Then one morning, everything collapsed again. Grandpa passed away quietly in his sleep. I didn't just lose him. I lost the only real family I had left. But a week later, his lawyer called. There was a will, and my name was written all over it. When word spread, my phone started lighting up like fireworks. After 20 years of silence, suddenly my parents wanted to talk. Mom texted first. "River, honey, we need to discuss Grandpa's estate. Let's handle this as a family." Family? The same people who left me at 4? I stared at that message for a long minute, hands shaking, not from fear but from anger, because what they didn't know was that Grandpa didn't just leave me his money. He left me everything, including the one secret that could ruin their picture-perfect lives forever. When I walked into the lawyer's office that day, my parents were already there, dressed like they owned the world. Mom gave me that fake, sugar-coated smile she used whenever she wanted something. Dad didn't even say hi. He just looked me up and down and muttered, "Didn't expect you'd turn out this decent." The lawyer cleared his throat and began reading the will. My heartbeat was loud enough to drown out his voice until I heard the words, "I leave my entire estate, including the farmhouse, lands, and accounts, to my grandson, River Thompson." The room froze. Mom's painted smile disappeared. Dad's face turned pale. Then came the explosion. "What?" Mom shouted. There must be a mistake. He wouldn't just leave everything to him. The lawyer adjusted his glasses calmly. Mr. Thompson was very clear. "The inheritance is solely in River's name." Mom laughed bitterly. "You think you can handle that kind of money? You're just a kid who grew up in foster homes." Her words stung, but I'd learned to control my emotions. "Yeah," I said quietly. "The kid you abandoned at 4. Dad leaned forward, his voice cold. "You wouldn't even have met him if it weren't for us." "That property should be shared fairly," I smirked. "You mean split fairly, right after 20 years of silence?" Their lawyer tried to play it smooth, suggesting they could help manage the funds for me since I didn't have experience. But I wasn't the same scared kid they left behind. Grandpa taught me everything about managing that farm, and a lot more about people like them. I reached into my bag and pulled out an envelope Grandpa left me separately. Inside was a handwritten note and a sealed USB drive. The note read, "River, if they ever come for what's yours, show them what's on this drive." My parents watched as I placed the USB on the table. Dad frowned. "What's that supposed to mean?" I looked him straight in the eyes and said, "It's Grandpa's final insurance policy. And it's about both of you." Mom's face drained of color. She whispered, "What are you talking about, River?" I leaned back, feeling the power shift for the first time in my life. "Let's just say Grandpa knew what you did, and he made sure I'd never forget it." Dad's jaw tightened as he reached across the table. "Give me that drive, River. It's probably nothing, just an old man's nonsense." But I didn't move. My hand rested calmly over the USB. "Funny," I said, "because Grandpa told me it would expose why you two really abandoned me." The lawyer looked uneasy. "Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, Perhaps we should allow River to speak. Mom's voice trembled for the first time. River, whatever you think you know, it's not true. I plugged the USB into the lawyer's laptop. A folder opened instantly, labeled For River's Eyes and the World's If Needed. Inside were scanned documents, old photos, and recorded voice messages. I clicked the first file. Grandpa's voice filled the room. If you're hearing this, River, then I'm gone. Your parents didn't just leave you. They sold your guardianship rights for money they used to start their business. They traded you for a check. The air turned heavy. Mom gasped, her hands trembling. Dad went white. That's ridiculous, he yelled. He's lying. But then came the next file, a scanned agreement with both their signatures, dated 2 weeks after I was abandoned. It clearly stated, transfer of custodial rights in exchange for $125,000. My chest tightened, but not from pain, from justice. So, I said, staring at them, that's why you left me in that storm. Not because it was better for me, but because you needed money. Mom broke down, sobbing. River, we were desperate. We didn't know what else to do. Dad tried to save face. We built everything from that money, including what Grandpa left behind. You owe us. I laughed. I owe you? You sold me and built a life on the price tag you put on your own child. Grandpa knew. That's why he made sure you got nothing. Mom lunged forward, grabbing my arm. Please, River, we're still your parents. I pulled away, voice steady. Parents don't sell their kid like property. You lost that title a long time ago. They stared at me in silence, realizing their secret was exposed, and there was nothing left to manipulate. Then, Dad leaned back, his tone shifting cold again. You think you've won? That money, that land, it'll crush you. You have no idea how to handle it. I smiled faintly. You're wrong again, Dad. I've been handling life since the day you left me. Mom followed me out of the lawyer's office, her voice breaking in the hallway. River, please! You don't understand. We were young, broke, scared. We thought Grandpa would take care of you better than we could. I stopped mid-step. No, I said coldly, turning around. You didn't think Grandpa would take care of me. You sold me to survive and then pretended I never existed. Her tears didn't move me anymore. For years, I'd begged for answers in my head. But now that I had them, they only made me stronger. Before I tell you what I did next, hit like and subscribe if you believe some apologies come way too late. Dad caught up, his tone all business again. River, listen. We can fix this. If you let us handle Grandpa's estate, we'll make sure you get a steady income. It's complicated managing all that property. I almost laughed. You mean the property you thought would be yours? He clenched his jaw. You're being emotional. You don't know the first thing about running a business. I learned from Grandpa, I said calmly. The same man you called senile when he refused to invest in your fake company. That hit him like a slap. His face went red, but before he could speak, I pulled out another paper from my folder. This is the deed transfer, I said. And this, I held up a second paper, is the legal claim Grandpa filed before he died. He made sure if you ever tried to touch a cent of his money, I could press charges for fraud, Mom gasped. Dad froze. You wouldn't dare, he whispered. I stepped closer. Wouldn't I? After what you did? Grandpa gave me the power to make sure his fortune stays protected. And I intend to use every bit of it. Mom dropped to her knees right there in the hallway. River, please, we lost everything after Grandpa stopped talking to us. We have debts, bills. Your sister needs surgery. I stared down at her. You mean half-sister, right? The one you replaced me with? She looked away, ashamed. And for a moment I almost felt pity, until I remembered every night I cried alone, wondering why I wasn't good enough to keep. I'll help her, I said finally, my voice calm but distant. But not through you. You won't touch a single dollar. Dad's eyes narrowed. So this is revenge? I shook my head. No, this is justice. You taught me the value of money, and Grandpa taught me the value of integrity. Only one of those lessons was worth keeping. I walked away as their voices faded behind me, their footsteps echoing down the hall. For the first time, I wasn't running from them. I was walking past them. A month passed in quiet peace, or so I thought. I focused on rebuilding Grandpa's farm, turning it into something that would make him proud. Every sunrise felt like a new chapter. But peace doesn't last long when greed still breathes. One evening, I returned home to find the front gate broken. The house lights were on, and I hadn't left them that way. My stomach dropped. Inside, drawers were pulled open, papers scattered across the floor. Then I saw them, Mom and Dad standing in Grandpa's old study surrounded by the chaos they'd caused. Dad's voice was sharp. "We warned you, River. You don't deserve all this. We built this family, and it belongs to us." I stepped closer, calm but cold. "You broke into my house?" Mom's voice cracked. "We didn't come to hurt you. We needed what's rightfully ours." I pulled out my phone and hit record. "Say that again?" Dad glared. "Turn that off." "I will," I said, "once the police hear this." That's when he lunged forward, grabbing the envelope with Grandpa's will from the desk. But what he didn't know was that it wasn't the original. I'd already moved every important document, every file, to a safe deposit box weeks ago. I crossed my arms. "You just committed breaking and entering, theft attempt, and harassment." "Congratulations, Dad. That's 3 charges before breakfast." Mom froze. "River, please. Don't call the police. We'll leave, I swear." I looked at her, the same woman who left me in the rain at 4 years old. And for the first time, I didn't feel pain. Just peace. "You already left once," I said softly. "This time I'll make sure you never come back." The sirens arrived minutes later. They watched me from the porch as officers led them away. Mom crying, Dad shouting that I'd regret this, but all I felt was relief. The next morning, I sat on the farmhouse porch, looking out over the land Grandpa had trusted me with. The sunrise hit the fields in gold light, and I could almost hear his voice. "Build something honest, River. Let your roots grow where love does." So I did. I reopened the farm, hired locals who needed work, started a scholarship in Grandpa's name for kids who'd grown up like me, forgotten, but still fighting. Sometimes, the past doesn't deserve closure. It deserves consequences, because when they left me at 4, they thought they'd buried me. But Grandpa gave me a future, and now I was the one holding the shovel. Poetic justice served, and River finally stands free, turning pain into purpose.